Things are getting ugly in San Diego's mayoral race. The attacks both Barbara Bree and Todd Gloria are now fending off.
The vice presidential candidates square off in their only debate. Our expert looks at who helped themselves the most.
And a stunning accident revealing a huge problem on a local road.
This special edition of ABC 10 News starts now.
The intensity now heating up in the race to become San Diego's next mayor. Good evening. I'm Kimberly Hunt.
And I'm Steve Atkinson. Our polling shows Democrats Todd Gloria and Barbara Bree in a statistical dead heat. Our ABC 10 News reporter John Horn shows us how both sides are fighting off attacks.
Both campaigns on Wednesday were distancing themselves from attacks on their opponent. They weren't, however, disavowing them either. City Councilwoman Barbara Bree calling a news conference Wednesday afternoon to blast two mailers she's calling deceptive. They look like ads supporting her, but actually a mailer that says she's progressive is going to Republicans, and a mailer that says she's the Republican choice for mayor is going to Democrats.
They do not explain who I am as a person. They were done in a deceitful way to purposely deceive voters about who I am.
A committee that supports Todd Gloria paid for the ads. Attorney Gil Cabrera, its principal, says the mailers are accurate and Bree is trying to be different things to different voters.
The one thing she hasn't said is that any of the quotes are inaccurate or any of the policy positions are inaccurate, which is, I think, interesting.
Meanwhile, Gloria is taking attacks via text message from conservative radio host Carl DeMaio over his recent support of a bill that doesn't automatically force someone to register as a sex offender in certain circumstances after sex with a minor, meant to end discrimination against LGBTQ individuals. DeMaio said he did it on his own and has not endorsed Bree. Bree resisted calls to condemn the texts.
So you're never going to agree with your opponent. So that's why she's saying, I'm not going to denounce it. You go talk to Carl DeMaio. And again, on the other side of the coin, Todd Gloria is doing the exact same thing.
Likewise, a spokesman for Gloria says the candidate did not coordinate with the committee for those mailers, noting that would be illegal. John Horn, ABC 10 News.
And the mayor's race continues to be deadlocked. Our new ABC 10 News Union Tribune scientific poll shows Gloria leading Bree 39% to 38%, a statistical tie.
Well, you just saw Mike Pence and Kamala Harris square off in one vice presidential debate. And it comes 1 week after a presidential debate that saw insults flying. As Mary Maloney reports, tonight's clash was civil but still heated.
The first and only debate between the vice presidential candidates, taking on an outsized role in an election that's been upended by the coronavirus pandemic and the economic turmoil it has caused.
Whatever the vice president is claiming the administration has done, clearly it hasn't worked.
From the very first day, President Donald Trump has put the health of America first.
Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris facing off in Salt Lake City after President Trump and at least 10 other senior officials at the White House tested positive for COVID-19. The candidates drawing stark contrasts in policy and personality.
President Donald Trump, who brought all of that experience 4 years ago,
and
turned this economy around by cutting taxes, rolling back regulation.
Joe Biden believes you measure the health and the strength of America's economy based on the health and the strength of the American worker and the American family. On the other hand, you have Donald Trump, who measures the strength of the economy based on how rich people are doing.
Harris putting the focus on the man who isn't there, President Trump, and criticizing the administration's handling of the coronavirus pandemic.
They knew what was happening and they didn't tell you.
Pence painting Harris as a progressive by highlighting her past support for the Green New Deal and Medicare for All legislation.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris consistently talk about mandates, and not just mandates with the coronavirus, but a government takeover of health care, the Green New Deal, all government control. We're about freedom and respecting the freedom of the American people.
In Salt Lake City, I'm Mary Maloney.
Joining us now to talk about what transpired tonight is Dr. Kira Green with the Center on Policy Initiatives. And Dr. Green, the response from both camps already pouring in tonight, both sides saying they had a good night. COVID-19 was front and center. Kamala Harris came out strong, called that a failure. Pence was able to come back to the economy and jobs pre-pandemic and look toward the future. But they both refused to answer questions tonight. So let's start with Harris. She would not answer whether she and Biden will pack the Supreme Court if they're elected after Amy Coney Barrett's possible appointment to the Supreme Court. How much does that hurt her ticket with the undecideds?
I'm not sure that it hurts her ticket at all. In fact, the fact that both of these candidates didn't respond to questions about the Supreme Court really, I think, is a case of them trying not to have a quote that can be used against them. But I think both were pretty clear about where they stand, and I think most voters know where they stand on these issues.
VP Mike Pence failed to answer, even in the hypothetical, if Roe versus Wade is pushed to the states and where he would stand on that. Again, how risky is that?
I think it's not as risky as it might seem, just to be frank. I think Vice President Pence's record as a pro-life candidate is well known. Even a little bit of research would show that. And the president and the vice president have been quite outspoken about that position. They see that as something that plays to their base. And while they, again, don't want to be caught with a quote that clearly lays that out in terms of the Supreme Court appointment, I think all the elements are there and people heard it.
Senator Kamala Harris, best moment.
Senator Harris's best moment, really, I think there are two big moments. One is her discussion about the economy, I think drawing a stark contrast between the framing of Joe Biden as the person who looks out for families and everyday people, and President Trump being a person who judges the economy based on how well it does for rich people. I also expect to hear her Honest Abe quote. While it might not be getting a lot of attention tonight, over the next few days as we actually debate a Supreme Court nomination, I suspect this will come back and be used consistently to sort of outline a position.
VP Mike Pence, best moment.
I think Vice President Pence's best moments come when he's talking about foreign policy. I thought it was a particularly astute choice because it both placed strongly to the image that the president puts out as a very strong man who takes strong positions. And it also plays well in a moment where Americans are afraid of many things, but due to COVID, they're not so much afraid of the foreign policy threats, the terrorism threats that dominated in the past. So I thought that was a good thing for him to focus on. I thought it was less convincing, some of the other arguments, but foreign policy, I thought he was very strong on.
All right, thank you, Dr. Green, for your expertise. Less than 30 days left, and we know you'll be back with us between now and Election Day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In the meantime, President Trump is calling his infection with coronavirus a blessing from God. In a video he tweeted today, the president credited a cocktail of therapeutics for his rapid recovery and now vowed to make sure that the drugs are available to every infected American. All right, doesn't sound like we have that from him. We'll bring.
I want everybody to be given the same treatment as your president, because I feel great. I feel like perfect. So I think this was a blessing from God that I caught it.
Well, the president returned to the Oval Office today after only one day of isolation in the White House residence. His doctor says he's been symptom-free for about 24 hours, but dozens of his staff or inner circle, they have tested positive in recent days. And a member of Governor Gavin Newsom's office staff has tested positive for COVID-19. The governor's office says the staff member had not interacted with Newsom or people who interact with him regularly. In the meantime, a state employee who works in a space shared with some of the governor's office staff has also tested positive, but that person also had no contact with the governor's inner circle.
And the county is working on a plan to address the state's newest COVID-19 metric for a safe reopening. ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura breaks down what the new metric will mean for San Diego County to move to a less restrictive tier.
We are focusing on those areas where communities have decreased resources.
San Diego County health officials have another metric to monitor on its road to reopening more sectors of the county. Since California released its new tiered reopening system, case rates and positivity rates have determined what and how businesses should open and operate. San Diego County's current state calculated adjusted case rate is 6.5 daily new infections per 100,000 people, putting the county in the substantial or red tier. This is the tier that allows many indoor operations to be open, though at a limited capacity. San Diego County needs the case rates below 3.9 and maintain that for 2 weeks before it's allowed to move into orange or moderate and allow businesses to operate with less restrictions. The county's positivity rate is at 3.5. That metric already meets the criteria for the orange tier. In addition, the state added a health equity metric. This is new. The metric won't be a factor in moving San Diego County to a more restrictive tier, but it will play a role in moving it to a less restrictive tier. The metric focuses on disadvantaged communities and their risk to COVID-19. The state looked at several factors that influence health in communities, including economics, education, transportation, social, neighborhood and environment, and housing conditions. San Diego County's current equity metric is 6.2, which puts it in the red. That number needs to drop below 5.2 to meet the orange tier criteria. The county has to submit a health equity plan to the state by next Thursday. They are expecting guidelines from the state on Monday. County officials say since the pandemic started, they've been paying attention to communities that may have limited resources, but say more can still be done.
And so what we're fighting against is generations of folks not having access to health care. What we're fighting against is an environment that was created pre-COVID where a lot of communities in San Diego don't trust government agencies and government entities. And so I think it is certainly possible that we can make it better.
Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
And here are the latest numbers. The county announced 354 new cases today, bringing our total to 49,000. There were also 7 new deaths, bringing that total to 813.